Good evening, everyone. Due to the COVID-19 emergency, tonight's Committee of Adjustment hearing is being held by video conference and live streaming video on the town's live stream webpage at oakville.ca. This is a hearing to consider applications for minor variances and consents held under the authority of the Planning Act. Please keep in mind the intent of this process is to review the application that is before the committee, listen to the evidence, and then make a decision. This process is not intended to be used to resolve any concerns or disputes that may exist between the town, individuals, or organizations. If a request for a deferral is made and the committee grants such a request, the applicant or authorized agent must contact the Secretary-Treasurer to schedule a new hearing date. In order to conduct an effective and efficient electronic hearing, we have adopted the following process. If you are watching the live stream of this hearing on oakville.ca, and if you wish to speak to an item on the agenda, you can call 905-815-6095. Again, that's 905-815-6095. The phone number is also posted below the screen at live stream at oakville.ca, and staff will be standing by to take your call and provide you with further instructions to join the video conferencing. At that time, you will be asked for your name, phone number, and address, and the item number that you wish to address. When the chair of the committee polls for interested parties, the Secretary-Treasurer will unmute you when it is your turn to speak. The applicant or agent will be given the opportunity to briefly explain the committee the basis of the application, answer any questions that may arise. A maximum of 5 minutes will be provided for their presentation. You will need to state your full name and address for the record, and any submissions beyond the 5 minutes will be at the discretion of the committee. All delegations must also state their name and address for the record, and a maximum of 5 minutes will be provided to make that presentation. All remarks and questions are to be directed to the chair, and any submissions beyond the 5 minutes will also be at the discretion of the committee. The applicant or agent will then be provided with a further 5 minutes to respond to the comments made by any interested parties and answer any questions from the committee members. If the applicant or agent has any concerns found in staff report, particularly with the proposed conditions, at that time this will be the opportunity for you to advise us. The matter will then be taken into committee for a decision, and that will mark end of all discussions. Any person desiring a notice of decision for an application must provide a written request, preferably through email, to the Secretary-Treasurer. Please note that you must make a written request in order for you to be included on the list that is used by the local planning appeal tribunal for giving any subsequent notice of any appeal. Written notice of the committee's decision will be mailed no later than 10 days for minor variance applications and 15 days for consent to the applicant, agent, and other person who has filled a written request for such notice. If you do not agree with the committee's decision, you may appeal this to the local planning appeal tribunal, and the last date to appeal the decision will be noted on the decision. If no appeal is received within the prescribed time frame, the decision of the committee becomes final and binding, and the Secretary-Treasurer will then notify the applicant and anyone who received a copy of the decision through written correspondence. People participating in this hearing are to be courteous to and respectful of the members of the committee, the town staff, and other people participating in the electronic hearing. Tonight's electronic hearing is being video recorded and will be available for future viewing at oakville.ca. Thank you. We don't have any regrets this evening. Do I have any declarations of pecuniary interests? I see none. Thank you. Madam Secretary, do we have any requests for deferral or withdrawals of applications at this time?
To Madam Chair, we don't have, I haven't received any, but you can ask if anybody wants to speak or defer the application.
Okay, for all those in attending of the meeting, whether through phone call or video conferencing, will you please alert through a raising of a hand whether you do request a deferral or withdrawal of an application at this present time? Do you see any?
No, I don't see any.
Very well. We have no consent, so the first application on our roster this evening is CAV 113 of 2020 at 1222 Montclair Drive. That's application CAV 113 of 2020 and address 1222 Montclair Drive. Anyone who's interested to speak to this application is asked to call the phone number 815-6095. Again, it's 905-815-6095. Staff will be standing by to take your call and provide you with further instructions to join our video conferencing. Madam Secretary, we have is Paul, I guess, Chili Paul, the agent that's representing this application.
To Madam Chair, he is here, but he needs to unmute himself.
Okay, very well. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Chile.
Chile, okay.
Yes, like the name of a country.
Okay. Very well, welcome. You
Thank you.
Here for application of 1222 Montclair. It's the addition to the existing dwelling.
That's right, correct.
Go ahead, sir. We're ready with your presentation.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, the members of committee tonight. I want to start by saying thank you to you. I've tried to attend two of this live webinar to see how this goes and works, and I think this is a great thing I see all the time. So I want to say thank you. Start by saying thank you, for this opportunity. Again, I say this, that leaders, sometimes we see them play a role and we often forget to say thank you. So thank you goes a long way. So thank you for all that you people do every time and every 2 weeks that you meet. So my name is Chile Paul. Standing beside me here is Chile Paul. That's my wife. We're the owners of 122 Montclair Drive. So tonight we had applied for a minor variance for 3.5 setback. So I'll just take a little bit of time just to take you through some of the stories and things that have happened around this, at least so that I get some perspective and background to why we're applying for this. Next, please. Okay, so this is a site plan. If you note this very well, our property currently faces Montclair. And so when we had forwarded our application for permits, we weren't expecting to go through minor variance because the seawall is our flankage, and of course our house address, entrance and door faces Montclair. But once we submitted this, we're made to understand that the shortest line of a lot, especially a corner lot, is considered the front yard, even though we're facing Montclair. So we're asked to forward in a minor variance. So that's why we're coming in for a minor variance this night. Next. So just to give a little bit of background, because we had sent this in and we wanted to make sure that we have the support of the planning department before this goes in. And one of the few things one of you able to do is to ensure that we're working alongside with them. So what you see tonight are a copy of emails. So I just copied and pasted some of the emails. Of course, there were other emails, but these ones were key decision point for us. And we want to make sure that at least we present that to the committee to see as well. So the zoning examiner, of course, got back to us and told us that the lot line considered the very fact that we're in a corner lot, and even though we're not facing seawall, we need to consider that as our front yard. And of course, we agreed and we forwarded that to the planner. The planner reviewed our application and said to us that they don't think they'll be able to support this, considering the very fact that it might be a little bit of massing into seawall, which is not where we're facing. And at the same time, because we have some trees, in the compound, that might be something that we might not be able to do. So we did request for a recommendation to find out what we need to do, because we want to make sure we work with them. And so they had said to us that if we can come up with a 3D rendering, that might be helpful for them to have an idea of what we're trying to do on our property. Next. So we did request for some time. We paid for a 3D rendering, and we asked, they forwarded this to the planning department. They looked at it, and the feedback came back that I would go to the next page again because of time. Next page. Next, sorry. Okay, thank you. So, once this happened, the planner got back to us. Of course, we after some conversation, and they looked at the 3D rendering. The planner suggested that, of course, that in the past this has been approved. Considering the very fact we are not facing seawall is our flankage, that this should be considered. And then he suggested that we should talk to our zoning examiner just to review this again and see what will happen. So we went back to the zoning examiner. The zoning examiner looked at it and said, no, that we still have to apply for minor variance. That's the number 6 that we find in there. But, we're saying, okay, if we're going to apply for the minor variance, if seawall is our flankage and we are only expected to give a 3.5 setback based on the bylaw, we might not need to apply for a variance. That was what we had thought. So there was a little bit of confusion in there, but the planner stepped in and gave us a clarification to say to us that even though that he mentioned that has been approved in the past, we still need to go in for a minor variance. Again, we were confused at some point, and we had asked, what should we do? Should we apply seawall as flankage, or should we consider it as our front yard, right? And so we asked for that clarity, and that's what number 8 in there is saying. We were sending that information. And one of the reasons why we did that was we wanted to make sure that we're getting their support before we can send in our application. Next. So the planner got back to, when we asked this question, the planner got back to us and said, you know what, we should apply this as a flankage, right? And that would be what we should do. And we agreed. So in the process of doing that, we got a further communication from the planner and said, oh, we have had a conversation which you can see in there, through a further discussion within the team. They feel that we should consider this as a front yard based on our application. And of course, we thanked them and we moved ahead. Next. So again, I'm a little bit confused when we heard that our application is unsupported, because whatever that was raised was what had been raised from the beginning, that we have worked with the team on, and they've given us a go ahead, and we felt we were okay in there. We didn't feel that there was a need for us to see that they were hearing that they were not supported again. I'm very confused. I don't even understand how to address that matter, but I think I would. I feel maybe they're pointing back to things that we had discussed initially. Again, I'm not too sure what that is really, but we tend to just move this forward to this committee to talk about it. One of the few things that was mentioned, which is 2 notes, was that the uniform setback on seawall. I did mention that, and I would say this with all sense of respect. It is not an accurate statement. For example, 134 seawall currently has 3.1 setback to seawall. And so we're saying that every property on seawall is uniform. It's not an accurate statement. Each of these properties have, conditions, attached to each of the property, and the setbacks are not the same. So that in itself, 134, I would have put that photo and measurement online, but I do not know from a privacy standpoint if that will be allowed, and that's why I don't have that as part of the presentation. But of course, that measurement in itself tells you it's not. Then another thing I want to talk about is the mature trees. The mature tree that we have is within the lot. It is not a municipal tree. It is a tree within our lot. And we currently have a permit for that to cut the tree. And of course, the town inspector came in, inspected, and gave us the permit. And we have the permit right now. And they have also told us that we need to plant some trees to replace some of the trees we're cutting down. And of course, we have the deposit that we paid in, that as soon as we pay cut those trees, they're able to return that back to us. Next. So we have the support of our neighbors. Of course, it was a little bit of confusion for them because they wouldn't understand why seawall is our front yard. So I kept on going back to do an explanation. So even the last letter that you have in there was an objection initially, which she withdrew and gave us a support. So we have the support of all of our neighbors, the ones behind us, right side and in front of us, because it's a corner lot, and they are supporting our application as well. Next. So thank you so very much. That's all we have to present tonight. One thing I just want to say to you people is that I would appreciate if you guys can look into our case, because this particular house is not functional right now. It's just a one washroom in a house, so it's not functional as it is. So an addition is required for us to be able to enhance the usage of this home. So thank you.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Paul. I have to say I commend you on your presentation. was very thorough. You really did a great job, and when we do get great presentations like that, we have to give credit where credit is due. So we appreciate the effort and the time that you put into it to make things as clear as you have. I'll open down the field now to my colleagues in the committee to ask any questions that they may have while I wait for the Secretary Treasurer to let me know if someone is waiting online to speak to this application. We do note your letters of support, and we do have them in our files. So we've seen them. And thank you for that, lady and gentlemen. Any questions of Mr. and Mrs. Paul at this time? Okay, I see none. Ms. Secretary Treasurer, do we have anyone who's interested in speaking to this application that has called in with interest?
No, we don't have as of right now.
Okay. All right, committee members, I'm in your hands. If we have no items of clarification or questions of Mr. and Mrs. Paul, would anyone like to start the ball rolling and have a discussion on a recommendation? Go ahead, Mr. Flemington. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Giving my review of the application and having been by the site, and also noting the comments that were made this evening, I am finding that as far as the comments on Sewell versus Montclair, I think, as well as noting that there have been letters of support from the neighbors for this application, I'm going to move a motion that the application be approved as applied for. I think that based on the commentary with regards to noting what I said as far as Sewell goes, like, to me, it's somewhat a little bit technical. So I am going to move, and also noting that I believe there are no written objections.
No.
The one written objection has been withdrawn and is now a positive in support of. So I'm going to find that I'm going to move that it be approved as applied for, that it meets the 4 tests of the Planning Act, and I would put it subject to our conditions. One, that it be approved with the drawings that have been attached to the application. Sorry, I don't know if there's a date on those.
What is the date of your application drawings, Mr. Paul?
I have it. So I'm just going to pull that up.
Madam Chair, it looks like 10/27/2020.
Okay, 10/27/2020, which is October 27th, 2020. Mr.
Okay.
Flemington,
Thank you. And as well, our other standard condition that the approval expires 2 years from the date of the decision if a building permit has not been issued for the proposed construction.
very well. Those are the 2 conditions that have been cited. Is there discussion on this recommendation? Mr. Hardcastle, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would respectfully put forward an opinion.
I'm sorry, you're cutting out. I'm sorry, you're cutting out.
I am having bandwidth issues, so hopefully you can hear this. I'll slow down my speech a little bit. Hopefully you can understand. I have some objections and concerns with respect to the proposed addition and the removal of the tree. This is unlike any other site that I was able to observe during my site visits. The building will project well in front, 5 to 6 meters in front of the existing building adjacent on Sewell. And it will stand out as an anomaly with respect to its relationship to the street. And the absence of mature vegetation within the front yard, and as such, I cannot support the motion on the floor.
Very well. Thank you for your comments, Mr. Hardcastle. Mr. Hassan, Mr. Paul had cited a house on Sewell adjacent to the property that has a setback similar to the setback that will be as a result of this construction. Can you pull that out and verify that for us?
Through you, Madam Chair. So that property is also a corner lot just to the east of the subject lands. The shorter setback, as I think you noted, 1.34 meters, is the flankage yard setback. So it's along Sewell Drive. The property at 134 corners Newton Road and Sewell Drive. So if I do a quick measurement, what would be deemed the front yard setback for that property is 8.38 meters, and then the flankage yard setback is, well, according to my GIS mapping that I'm looking at, it's 3.32 meters. So I'm not sure where the 1.34 meters comes from, but based on the mapping that I'm using, that's what I'm getting in terms of that setback.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I'm sorry, Mr. Paul, the procedural bylaws says that now that we're in committee, it's our time for discussion. So, but we've noted, that's why I'm asking the question, is we've noted your comments, and it's our time to kind of investigate and make a decision based on all the information that's presented before us. Okay, is there any other comments or items of clarification, further discussion on the matter? Okay, I see none. I guess we're ready for a decision. So the recommendation is to approve the application as applied for, with the drawings cited as October 27, 2020, and our standard condition that construction proceeds and that a building permit is obtained within the 2-year limit. All those in support of that recommendation? Okay, all those opposed? Okay, I'm sorry, the recommendation to approve the application as applied for has failed. Who would like to make another recommendation? Go ahead, Mr. Hardcastle.
Okay, Madam Chair, having undertaken my site visit, reviewed the staff report, and heard the deputations, I am not satisfied that the requested variance conforms to the 4 tests of the Act, and therefore I'll put forward a motion of refusal, finding that the proposed addition will adversely impact the streetscape of Sewell and Mount Clair.
Okay, is there a discussion on this recommendation? Okay, I see none. All those in support of the refusal? Okay, all those opposed? Okay, so the motion carries. I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Paul, the application has been denied. So you have to look back with town staff and see what else you can come up with to their satisfaction, and hopefully the further investigation and will help you design the house in a more accommodating manner for the bylaws that govern the town of Oakville.
All right.
All right.
You.
Have a good night. Thank you. All right. Application CAV 114 of 2020 at 2370 Valley Stream Place. Again, the application is CAV 114 of 2020 at 2370 Valley Stream Place. The phone number to call if you'd like to speak to this application is 905-815-6095. Again, the number is 905-815-6095. Staff is standing by and will be taking your call and providing you with further instructions to join the video conferencing. All right, I have John Witten here as the agent. Is that the person representing this application?
Yes, it is.
Okay, hi, welcome.
Good
Are
evening,
you
madam.
on video conferencing or just phone?
I'm on video, I assume.
Okay, if you'd like to turn your cameras on, that'd be great.
Oh, I wouldn't know how to start.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's supposed to be on the top corner of your Zoom application, but if you can't, it's fine. We can see your application presentation. You can go ahead, sir.
Okay. Yeah, Madam Chair and members, we're requesting a rear yard setback of 6.9 where 7.5 is required. And we're also requesting a 37.4% lot coverage where 35% lot coverage is required. I've read the staff's report, and obviously I concur with their decision or observation that we meet in the 4 criteria set out. We did talk to the neighbors, submit 2 supporting letters.
We do have those on file, so thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know what else to add to it, but except I concur with staff's report that we've sort of met the test of the 4 criteria.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other pages in your presentation that you'd like to go through, or you're satisfied so we can take this matter into committee?
I would take it to committee, Madam
Okay,
Chair.
all right. Thank you very much. Are there any questions or items of clarification of Mr. Witten at this time? Okay, I see none. Then we'll take the matter into committee. Who would like to move a motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just wondering if there's anybody on the line to speak to this.
Oh, thank you for reminding me.
Thank you.
Sometimes I forget that we're online and everyone can see me. I apologize. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Murray. Ms. Secretary Treasurer, do we have anyone online that would like to speak to this application?
To Madam Chair, I can't see nobody, but you need to mention to raise the hands because...
Okay. We have letters of support from Richard Christian and Grenier Danielle and Jacob Fernanda and Jacob Nelson. If there's anyone else who's called in other than those individuals that would like to speak to the application, this will be your time to do so. Has anyone raised their hand?
To Madam Chair, nobody raised their hands.
Okay. Very well. Okay, with that, who would like to move a motion? Go ahead, Ms. Murray. Thank you.
Madam Chair, having conducted my site visit, reviewed the applicant's written submission as well as the town staff's written report, which I note that the staff is in support of. Having also taken into account the comments presented by the applicant this evening, thank you very much, as well as the submissions from the public. The neighbors noted earlier letters in support from 2370 Valley Stream Place and support from also 2366 Valley Stream Place. Madam Chair, I'm satisfied that the minor variance application meets all 4 tests under the Planning Act. I'm prepared to make a motion to approve the minor variance, that the addition be built in general accordance with the submitted site plan dated 30th of October 2020 and elevation drawings dated the 7th of October 2020, and that the approval expires 2 years from the date of the decision if a building permit has not been issued. Thank you.
Very well. Thank you very much. Is there a discussion on this recommendation? I see none. All those in support? Okay, the application has been approved. None opposed.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and committee members. Have a good
Have
evening.
a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, application CEV 115 of 2020 at 181 Burgundy Drive. Again, the application number is CAV 115 at 2020 at 181 Burgundy Drive. The number to call if you're interested in speaking to this application is 905-815-6095. Again, the number is 905-815-6095. Staff are standing by and are ready to take your call and provide you with further instructions to join the video conferencing. Good evening, Mr. Martino.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Terry Martino with Grand Weiss Architect Associates. We are the agent for the owner at 181 Burgundy. May I just ask, can everybody hear me okay? Sometimes.
Yeah, there's a bit of a lag, so we'll try and keep up if you just talk slow, I guess.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The proposal before you tonight is to demolish the existing one-story bungalow, which presently sits on the property, and construct a new two-story dwelling with 4 variants. I'd like to start from a design point of view. It was our intention to orient the house significant setbacks, maintaining or exceeding the required side and rear yard requirement. The rear setback is greater than the 10.5 requirement of the property. Perhaps if they could put the site plan up. Thank you. And that is measured, the 10.5 greater, 10.51 is actually measured to the covered porch, the house itself, for the setback. And this was an intent to maintain the privacy of the adjacent neighbors to the north and south, as well as the abutting residents to the east. A further attempt was made to bring down the overall scale of the house. See the front elevation, please. Perfect. As there was an attempt to bring down the massing and roof line down to the one-story level and conceal the second floor areas within the roof and punctuated as dormers, as you can see. Garage doors do not face the street and are actually hidden around on the north side. There is an ample 8.3 meter setback to the northerly neighbor and a significant landscape hedgerow proposed to hide the driveway. The height of the proposed dwelling is under the permitted 9 meters by the bylaw. With respect to the front yard setback, people, the plot plan or the aerial view, I think we called it. Thank you. With respect to the front yard setback, the existing bungalow that is currently on the lot is significantly set back further than the adjacent 2 houses. The intent of bringing the proposed house forward is, we believe, more in keeping with the adjacent neighbor, particularly to the north, as well as I believe the committee is aware that there's a proposal for redevelopment of the house south at 171. But by bringing it forward, we're actually creating a more uniform streetscape while still respecting the minimum 10.5 meter setback, which is required in the RL zone. We've worked closely with town staff, and I have read their comments, and I would concur and appreciate the support and the supporting all 4 variances as advisable. I personally have spoken with the adjacent neighbors at 191, that's the immediate neighbor to the north property, Dr. Lee, as well as 171 to the south, who are appreciative of our conversations, liked the proposal and had no objections to the proposal. I also visited with the neighbor across the street, immediately across the street at 182 Burgundy, as well as 192. At the time, this was last week, they didn't have any objections. My understanding is the committee has 2 letters from them. Now, I would be happy to answer any questions the committee may have and then address any comments the concerned residents may have if appropriate. Thank you.
Very well, thank you, Mr. Martino. Madam Secretary Treasurer, before we invite the neighbors, if they're in attendance and would like to speak to the committee, are there any questions of Mr. Martino at this time from the committee? Ms. Murray, go ahead.
Yes, thank you for the presentation. Madam Chair, through you, Madam Chair, to our applicant, clarify for me, it would appear that there are two driveways or two entrances. Am I interpreting that correctly from the drawings?
Through you, Madam Chair, that is correct. Yes, there is a north and a south circular drive. Right.
And through you, Madam Chair, follow up. Through you, Madam Chair, to town staff quickly. Is that permitted in this particular development area? And I'm actually surprised by the amount of driveway that we're seeing. I don't know if there are too many circular driveways in the neighborhood.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, it wasn't identified as a missing variance through an application. Obviously, when, if this application is approved and building permit plans are submitted, then there will be a more full review of the zoning bylaw in relation to the frontage requirements for a circular driveway, but nothing was identified to me in terms of a missing variance. So my understanding is that it would be permitted.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. Are there any other questions of Mr. Martino or planning staff at this time? Okay, I see none. Ms. Secretary Treasurer, do we have anyone in attendance who would like to speak to this application?
Madam Chair, we do have Mr. Lee, but I'm not sure if he wants to speak or not, but he needs to unmute himself.
Okay. Mr. Lee, go ahead. If you'd like to speak to the committee, now is your opportunity to do so, sir.
So I don't have any question, but I'm okay with this plan. So, and
Okay.
it's just a minor things. I talked to I can't remember your name. I talked to her that a couple of days ago. Just the window on the north side that just facing my side the window. So it just if possible, you can make minor changes on that thing.
Mr. Martino, we'll get you to. I'll have you respond to the applicant because we're not in a typical format where you can take all the questions and then reply to them all at one time. So go ahead, sir.
Madam Chair, can you ask Mr. Lee the address and his full name?
Okay, Mr. Lee, can you cite your address and name for the record, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So my address is 191 Burgundy Drive, and just the north side of this this property.
Okay. Do you have everything you need, Ms. Secretary Treasurer?
Yes, thank you.
Very well. Go ahead, Mr. Martino.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did meet with Mr. Lee, and Mr. Lee, thank you very much for your comments. I did relay them to the owner. As we discussed on site, the window on the second floor, there's only one. It is at the end of a hallway and not a private area such as bedroom. Also on that side, we are set back approximately 8.5 meters from that lot line. But the owner has committed to planting, as we discussed again, the large beech hedge, which will grow approximately 20 to 30 feet tall, I think, alleviating, plus with your beautiful landscaping, any issues with respect to use from the window.
Very well. Thank you very much for your clarification. Is there anyone else who has who is in queue to speak to this application?
Madam Chair, I can't see nobody. Nobody wants to speak.
Okay. Well, I note the letters of objection from Ms. Khanna and Ms. Holland Drake and Mr. Robert. There's a Robert Weir, Holland Drake Erica, and Roma Khanna. Those are the ones that I have. I'm looking at the letters right now. If there's anyone else who would like to speak, if not, we will take the matter into committee.
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead. I'm sidetracked by those letters. I'm looking at the different screen.
I don't know whether it's better to address the letters because the Secretary Treasurer was kind enough to forward them to me. Perhaps I could give some comments with respect to their concerns for the committee to understand, at least my perspective on.
That would be great. Thank you, Mr. Martino. We've read them. We're aware of their content, so your response would be appreciated.
With respect, as I said, I met both neighbors, and at the time, they sort of wished us well, thought it was a proposal. It was very nice and didn't have any objections at the time. Be that as it may, as a result of their letters, I went to the GIS mapping that the town has, and I believe that staff could confirm this right now. I also have the surveys for the properties at 192 and 182. And I can tell the committee that 192 has a front yard setback, shortest setback of 9.75 meters. 182 has a front yard setback of 11.05. I guess the reason that I'm bringing this up is that a streetscape is defined generally as, and I think staff put it best, is the intent of regulating the front yard setback is to ensure a relatively uniform setback along the street. That doesn't mean exact. And so there are, if you were to look on the site at 192 and 182, it provides perfectly good streetscape, uniform streetscape, notwithstanding that they're about a 1.5 meter difference. In our particular case, Mr. Lee, who spoke tonight at 191 Burgundy, immediately north of our property at 181. Their closest tie is 10.75 meters to the garage. The main wall, which is sort of closer or further south to us, is 11.39. I would note for the committee that the majority of the wall of our proposed dwelling is at 10.91 meters, and the 10.5 only occurs at the front end. So I believe, as staff has said, at variance number 4 in their comments, is that by actually moving it forward, it sort of brings the building more in line with the adjacent neighbors. It's very similar, I believe, is one of the tests for the minor variance of development in the neighborhood. So those are my comments with respect to the letters.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Martino. Are there any questions or items of clarification of Mr. Martino at this time? I see none. So we're ready to take the matter into committee. Who would like to? Thank you, Mr. Talaski. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I'm prepared to move that this application be approved as applied for, finding that it meets the 4 tests of the Planning Act. Madam Chair, I'd note that while on paper, the number of variances looks significant, I believe the applicant has done an excellent job in mitigating any impact that may be caused by these variances, particularly by bringing the second floor roof down to the eaves and by having the side access garage. Madam Chair, I would note the neighbor to the north is in support. I'd also note that 2 letters of objection from across the street, which primarily both deal with concern about the reduced front yard setback. Madam Chair, I would note on that about 90% of the dwelling is actually at 10.9 meter setback versus the 11.9 meter that's required. That 10.9 is generally in line with the leading edge of the dwelling to the north and would be within 0.5 meter of the as of right setback on the property to the south, which, as Mr. Martino indicated, is likely going to be redeveloped. So, Madam Chair, I do not see an impact as caused by this reduced variance. I would make this recommendation for approval subject to development proceeding in general accordance with the site plan and elevation drawings dated October 23rd, 2020, and that a building permit issue within 2 years.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Talowski. Is there a discussion on this recommendation? I see none. Okay, all those in support? Okay, so the application has been approved and none opposed.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members. Thank you very much. Have a good
Good night, Mr. Martino. Okay, we are now looking at application CAV 116 of 2020 at 3336 Stalybridge Drive. Again, it's application CAV 116 of 2020 at 3336 Stalybridge Drive. If there's anyone who'd like to speak to this application, the number to call is 905-815-6095, and staff will be standing by to take your call and provide you with further instructions for the video conferencing. I have Daniel Davila as the agent.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Daniel Davila, and I am acting as the authorized agent for my client Mansour Sultan at 3336 Stalybridge. We're proposing to construct a swimming pool with a side flankage setback of less than 3.5 meters and bringing it down to 1.5 meters.
Okay.
That's pretty much the gist of it.
Very well. Thank you for your submission. Members of the committee, are there any questions or items of clarification of Mr. Davila at this time? Ms. Murray, go ahead.
Mr. Davila, is there a reason there weren't any signs up to inform the public and the neighbors?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Is there a reason that there weren't any signs up to inform the neighbors?
The sign is
proceedings
on the gate of the gentleman's house. I had sent a picture in as a proof of that it was posted.
I did my site inspection today, didn't see them.
Madam Chair, the applicant, the agent was warned that the sign it's not supposed to be even on the gate, and further instruction that it has to be on the lawn, visible from the road.
Thank you.
Okay. So just in the future, Mr. Davila, if for any matters to do with the Committee of Adjustments, the actual signage has to be affixed on the lawn so that it's viewed by any passersby as well as all the neighbors so that they're well informed.
Okay.
Have you spoken to any of the neighbors in terms of the property that is adjacent to that flankage? See if they had any opposition or any items of concerns.
Just one neighboring property, which is directly across from the side flankage lot line, which is at 3278 Salter Crescent, and all seem to be okay in his eyes.
Okay, very well. We don't have any letters of support or opposition for that matter registered to this application. Nothing has come in. Ms. Secretary Treasurer, is there anyone waiting online to speak to this application?
Madam Chair, no, there is nobody who is waiting for line.
Okay, very well. If there are no further questions, we are ready to take the matter into committee. Who would like to move a motion? Go ahead, Mr. Flemington. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Having reviewed the applicant's written submission, as well as the town's report, noting that it was in favor of the application, noting that there were no letters of support or opposition to the application, and also taking into account the applicant's agent's presentation this evening. I'm going to move the motion that the application be approved as applied for, noting that it meets the 4 tests of the Planning Act. And I just want to have the 2 required condition that the pool be constructed in general accordance with the submitted site plan dated 20/20/08/15, and also our standard condition with regards to the if the approval expires 2 years from the date of the decision if a building permit has not been issued.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Flemington. Is there a discussion on this recommendation? I see none. All those in support? Okay. All those opposed? Okay. So your application has been approved. 1 opposed.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Take care.
All right, application CAV 117 of 2020 at Winterbourne Drive, 1279 Winterbourne Drive. Again, the application is CAV 117 of 2020 at 1279 Winterbourne Drive. If anyone would like to speak to this application, please call 905-815-6095. Again, the number is 905-815-6095. Ms. Secretary Treasurer, do we have people waiting to speak to this application? It is the last item on our agenda, and I do note that we have 32 letters of objection.
Madam Chair, we do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people waiting in attendees. I just promote Mr. The agent and the owner to the panelist, and I'm gonna promote all other people.
Okay, can they all hear me? Okay, you're gonna promote them so they
Yes,
can all speak, they can just hear?
I will promote them so they can even express wherever are they. Yeah, and so, okay, they're all
Okay, so can I just get a yes if you can all hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, very well. So typically with an application with so many letters of objection, when we are in council chambers, we encourage everyone who has an interest in this application to elect a person who is going to represent the group's interests, and so that in the interest of time and efficiency, we are not repeating the same points with respect to the items of objection or items of concern to do with this application. So I would like to kindly ask that whoever speaks just pay attention to the speaker that's before you in order for you to list any points or any items that they may have not mentioned in their submission to the committee. We do want to hear everyone's opinions and we do want to hear everyone's concerns, but it's just doesn't serve anyone well if the points are just repeated over and over again. So if with that in mind, we'll have the agent present first and proceed from there, okay? And I appreciate your cooperation and your time in advance. Okay, so we have Nafis Design. Who is the agent? I don't know who the agent is.
I'm the agent, Nafisa Zangiabadi.
Okay, so I'm pronouncing it correctly. Go ahead, Ms. Nafis.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. This is an application to construct a two-story rear addition where the existing deck was originally there. So the size of the addition is almost the same size as the existing deck. And the house is, my client has been living in this house for more than 30 years. And as their kids grown up, they needed more space. So as you can see on the drawing, there is no family room on the main floor drawing on A3, which the addition gonna serve as a family room for this family of 5. And then on the second floor, as you go to page A4, looks like it just paused.
I think they only have one page up. Did you submit? Maybe
I
they're
submitted
looking
a
for
revised site plan this morning, but anyways, it's just that
it may take them a second to pull it up. That's the only reason that we're seeing a lag, because I see that this is only one page.
Oh, okay, so that's the revised one. But that's the original second floor that there has 4 bedroom upstairs. One is master bedroom with its own ensuite, and the other 3 bedrooms are sharing just one washroom. So the addition on the second floor, on the proposed second floor, if you see on A9, shows that we are only adding 2 washrooms for 2 bedrooms on the second floor for the kids. So they're gonna have their own private washroom. Nothing in particular we added, nothing massive. And we are just a little bit over what is permitted in the bylaw. And we received a letter of objection from the neighbors yesterday and later today, which we didn't get a chance to talk to them. But as with respect to their opinion, we have decided to reduce the size of the addition, which will remove the variance of coverage. So our coverage is going to be 30% now with the revised site plan that we're submitting, which basically there's no variance for coverage. And that will automatically increase our rear yard setback to 7.04 meters as 6.59 that was originally proposed. So basically we're removing one variance, and the variance that we have now is just the rear yard setback on the shortest part, which is the worst case scenario. It's 7.04, and only it's just less than 50 centimeters more than what is permitted. I was reading on the objection letters that the neighbors had some concern for the greenery at the back, but before the addition there was a deck in the same location, exact same location. So the rest of the house, the rest of the rear yard will be all landscaping. So there's going to be no change to the greenery and the landscaping at the rear. Even though we don't have a height variance, but we are willing to reduce the height of the proposed addition for 3 feet, just to as a respond to our neighbor's concern. Even though it's not a variance, as I mentioned, but we're willing to reduce that. So basically what we're asking is a little increase in the rear yard setback, and as for the own use of the owner and the kids to have their own private washroom upstairs. And I believe that meets the 4 tests, and it's very minor in nature, and I would like to ask the committee to approve this one variance.
Okay, Ms. Nafis, I recognize that you haven't been in front of this committee before. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I would just like to draw your attention that according to our procedure bylaws, we don't approve amendments to an application on the fly, simply because there's a lot that goes into circulating the new revised plans, and for us to be able to see them for us to have a handle of them, and as well as for the public to be notified of these changes. I think it would have served you much better if you followed the process of requesting a deferral and took your time to submit the plans accordingly and have them circulated accordingly. But having said that, we are where we are right now. I still have to consider how the committee members feel about this application. As I said, it's not our practice to approve or deny, for that matter, any applications that we have not received the site plans ahead of time for them. So if I can ask the town staff to just pull out of that panel so I can see everybody. Mr. Hassan, have you, when were you able to look at these new revised drawings, and do you have any information about the intent of the owner to provide those amendments to their application?
Through you, Madam Chair, I was made aware of the drawings through the Secretary Treasurer Jasmina, but I didn't have a chance to review them. The only drawing that I saw was a revised site plan, but I did not see any revised elevations with relation to the reduction in the 3 feet height. So that's all that I can provide in terms of any plans that have been submitted by the applicant to date. But again, I haven't had a chance to extensively review them, even with internal staff. It just came in, I believe, yesterday.
Okay. Ms. Nafis, I will give you the benefit of the doubt. Usually, when we're this far into the process, I would just deny the application if it doesn't meet the 4 tests and we're unable to review it, because our procedural bylaw does recommend or mandate that you ask for a deferral in order for us to see the plans. It's my feeling that I will put it out there so that the committee members can weigh in how they feel as well. But for this first time appearance, and if you're not aware of how things work, I will allow you to request a deferral, and we will take the deferral into consideration for you to be able to circulate the plans, and the neighbors as well can see the proposed changes. I recognize that removing coverage takes away a lot of your problem and diminishes the rear yard setback that you're requesting, but you also threw in, reducing the height to 3 feet, and the combination of what you're suggesting would look completely different on paper than it is on the fly like this. And I just don't feel comfortable looking at it, especially during COVID when we don't have physical papers to look at. We have to have these drawings circulated to us. We have to be able to pull them and look at them at our own time and our own purview. And we're unable to do that on the fly in these circumstances. Very, very minimal circumstances while we were at council chambers where the agent was able to provide a set of plans for each member. We were able to look at things, and I've done it maybe a few times and I can count them on my fingers. So that's how I feel. I will leave it up to the rest of the committee members to weigh in and say what they feel with this regard.
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Farmington.
Thank you. I agree. Just hearing as well that a lot of the opposition, the agent just received that today, and then is now trying to, meet with, reviewing the application. I think by deferring the application, it'll give them a chance to sort of review with the people who are in opposition, what it is that they're looking at doing. So like in echoing your comments, I would suggest a deferral, and I have no problem doing it because it wasn't done earlier in the agenda given the circumstances we had. But I think it'll just lead to a better application for the applicant, and as well, it gives the opportunity for there to be dialogue with the neighbors as well. So that's my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Flemington. Anyone else? Mr. Talowski, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I would agree with that, seeing that the applicant has shown a willingness to make some amendments to their plans. Although having listened to the changes that she's willing to make, she seems to be about within 2 feet now of complying with the bylaw. So I would be happy to give her the opportunity to seek a deferral. But Madam Chair, I think it would be fair, though, to, before we do that, allow, if it fits the procedural bylaw, seeing that there's 6 members of the community, I wouldn't want to send her away to come up with.
I'm sorry, you were cutting off, Mr. Talowski. Sent her away and then what?
So I wouldn't mind hearing from the members. I wouldn't want her to go away and come back without having heard all the comments of the community. So if it fits the procedural bylaw, I wouldn't mind allowing the people, if they wish to, who are on tonight, to voice their concerns.
Sure. I mean, given the circumstances that we're in, I would not mind to allow that leeway. Usually we don't hear the neighbors, but since they're all here and they've attended, and I do give Ms. Nafis the benefit of that she is trying to appease the community or the neighbors and trying to fit the proposal within their concerns. So I commend you on doing that. We just have to follow the proper procedure for doing exactly that. So if there is anyone in the community, or I refer to the community as the neighbors who are here, I believe Ms. Jasmina said that there were 6 of you. Having heard what you've heard right now, is there anything in particular that you would like to address the designer with, or the owners with, so that once they leave from here, they have a clear understanding of what your concerns were before they submit their new plans that we will take on upon the deferral of the application? Just raise your hand, and Ms. Jasmina will allow you to take your turn. And it works well because this is the last item in our agenda, so we do have that time and that leeway.
Madam Chair, Mrs. Rhonda Marjanovic, she wants to speak, but she has to unmute herself.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Marjanovic. You have to unmute yourself in order for us to hear you. Okay, she may have stepped away from her phone or from her screen for a moment. We'll give her a chance. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
I don't know, we can't hear her. I don't know what is going on.
Just note for everyone in attendance, in order for you to speak, you have to unmute yourself. We are unable to unmute you ourselves.
I can unmute. I asked them to unmute.
Okay, I see Ms. Marjanovic right now. Do you hear us? Okay, we can't hear you though. For some reason, you're not. No, we can't hear you. Perhaps it's an issue with your mic. Is your mic on in your computer?
Madam Chair, I can hear her. She's talking on the phone, but I can't.
Oh, okay.
Oh, she's on the
Did she
screen.
call in or was she Zoom conferenced? Maybe you can pick up your phone, Ms. Marjanovic? I don't think she can hear me.
She's on the screen, but
I see her. I see that she's speaking. I just cannot hear her. Ms. Marjanovic, if you can hear me, maybe you are on your phone. Can you pick up your phone? Because we can't hear you through the computer. You're very faint, so I can't even make out anything that you're saying.
you have to turn the microphone on.
Can you turn your microphone on in the computer?
On the computer.
If not, perhaps the Secretary Treasurer can have you call in as a phone call panelist, and it'll be easier for you to talk to us. We've seen what you look like. Now we can just hear you without the camera. Yes, Ms. Murray.
Madam Chair, could you repeat the call-in number for
Oh, yes.
the public?
Call-in number is 905-815-6095. Again, it's 905-815-6095.
Thank you.
Thanks for reminding me.
Madam Chair, she is on the phone right now. I believe she can
Okay.
talk.
Okay.
Hello?
Very good. Hello, welcome.
Hi, sorry about that. Some technical.
No problem. That's okay. We're all dealing with the technical era that we live in right now, so it's okay.
Yes, for sure, for sure. I did hear the comment of the revisions that potentially could be made, but one of the things that I wanted to make the committee aware of is a lot of the homes on Valerie Crescent, which will be in the back of 1279, regardless of potentially making it slightly smaller, there's a big issue with the fact that it will be a two-story, like from ground to roof addition, and everyone's kitchen is elevated, so it's going to be right at that level. So we are kind of up on a hill as such, so it will be right in front of us.
Okay, I see your point.
So I wanted to make that that comment because it would be totally different, I think, if it was something that was perhaps an addition that would be a single story. I don't know if that's feasible, but doing a two-story addition regardless is an invasion of it would be an invasion of privacy for sure, just because, like I said, the gallery faces directly out there, and it's just, the elevation doesn't fit.
Okay, very well. Thank you for your submission.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else who would like to bring anything to the attention of the committee before we take the matter of the deferral into committee?
Madam Chair, I need just to remind that there is a deferral fee. So if you can tell to the agent whatever is he decided.
Yes, there is a deferral fee. The Secretary Treasurer, you can tell them how much it is so that they know.
It's $699.
$99, yeah. Okay.
I think.
Yes, Mr. and Mrs. Elliott, I see you raising your hands. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I guess it's covered off in the submission by the neighbours who all signed the same document, but something also to consider by way of a fairly substantial two-story addition going on to the back of this property, which abuts onto a number of link homes, is the sense and feeling of overbearingness and overcrowding, which is just going to be exacerbated, particularly for the link homes at the back, which only have a very small garden, which isn't very private in any case. And that's just a point that I think we would like to emphasize.
Very well. I note that the shadowing, overlook, and massing of the scale of the development as you requested. Thank you, Mr. Elliott.
Thank you.
I'm losing power. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Ms. Secretary Treasurer, I don't see everybody in the panel, so you're going to have to help me if there's anyone else who's got their hand raised.
Madam Chair, I don't see anybody else wants to talk. They are not raising their hands.
Okay, very well. Going once, going twice, sold. We are in committee. Committee members, the proposal before us is that we defer the application, provided that Ms. Nafis is willing to take that opportunity. Ms. Nafis, I'd like to hear it from you. I can't force you to defer. It has to be at your and your client's request.
I would have to double check that with my client if you give me a few minutes.
Yeah, you have a couple of minutes, because the other alternative is that we look at the application as it stands before us, and we decide on its merits as it was applied for.
Right. Let me just double check with him.
Very well. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, my client agrees to defer the application.
Yes, and you've made him aware that the deferral fee is $699.
Yes.
Okay, very well. So on the matter of CAV 117 of 2020 at 1279 Winterbourne Drive, the recommendation is to defer, and you will have to see the Secretary Treasurer when you have everything aligned and all your submissions and plans to hand in, and then she will give you a new hearing date.
Okay, thank you.
All those in support of a deferral? Okay, so your application has been deferred, none opposed. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate your patience, and we appreciate you taking the time. And hopefully, with the deferral, you'll see better results for your properties and for the neighborhood that is affected by this development. And Ms. Nafisa, I urge you, just the same as you're willing to do it on the fly, make amendments to hopefully get a supported application. I would urge you to speak to the neighbors and canvass the neighborhood, and together you can work to present a better proposal the next time around.
Yes, the only reason that we didn't do that is that we received both the comments of the planning and the neighbors' comment one on Friday and one on Monday and one today, so we didn't get the time. But we'll do so for the future.
No problem. Unfortunately, it is the same for everybody. The comments do go out on Friday, and at that point in time, you do have to decide whether you're going to proceed on the merits of your application or you need to defer in order to have more time to address the comments.
Right.
So, all right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Have a good night. All right. In terms of our continued agenda, while everyone logs off, we have to confirm meeting minutes for November the 10th. Who would like, Ms. Murray? Thank you for confirming the minutes. And then,
Sorry, Madam
yes.
Chair, in error, I was not in attendance, so I cannot. Sorry. My bad. My bad. But I had a good reason. I did have a good reason for not attending.
Okay. Okay. We went hand on the button too fast. Ding. Okay. Who would like to move the minutes for November 10th? Thank you, Mr. Hardcastle. Moved. So moved. And then adjournment. Okay, I'll give it to you, Ms. Murray. We adjourned. We are adjourned at 8:23 p.m. Thank you, everyone.